Hello, dear Alfred. I appreciate very much that you agreed to tell us your interview and the answering on our questions. Uh,
Hello.
let's start from the first question, which is about hypochondria. Fear of getting sick. How can I help these people and how can they help themselves?
We have first to distinguish what kind of fear is there. If it is a realistic fear or if it is a hypochondric fear or a neurotic or a phobic fear. There is, of course, a realistic fear around. People can get this sickness, and when they are in a risk group, the disease can even be lethal. And so if people say, I'm not sure if I'm insecure, I can get this sickness, then we have to work realistically on all precautions to, to protect them, that they uh, keep the distance, that they wash their hands, all this, that they do not get into contact with other people, that they live in quarantine, and this is then the safest place. If the fear still remains, it has to do, when they do all the protection, it has to do with a level of fear which is inherent in that person, a, an insecurity in a fundamental trust, maybe, an anxiousness which is a personality trait, or which relates to previous experiences. Um, uh, for instance, I had a person, a patient who really did all the prevention to her for not getting the virus, and lives in quarantine. She's 75 years old, and but she was very afraid and tensed and had a bit sleeping disorders because of this. And so we discussed the first level, the realistic fear. And then she said, yeah, I do all this, but I'm still afraid. And then I asked her, why are you afraid? She said, because I know myself that I sometimes forget to do things. As you know, I forget the, the date when we have our meeting. This happened several times. And she is very forgetful. And it can happen, she said, that I forget to wash my hands when I come back from my walk outside in the city. And then I said, wow. So then your fear is not a neurotic fear, not a pathologic fear. It is a realistic fear because you know about your forgetfulness. And so your fear is supporting you for not forgetting. Be thankful to your fear, that your fear reminds you, your tension when you come home after a walk, that you it reminds you to wash your hands and etc. and to clean your clothes, etc. And uh, then when you washed your hand, talk to your fear and tell her, thank you for reminding me, but now you don't have to be there any longer because I washed my hand and your service is fulfilled until the next time when I go out. And so this helped her very much. Uh, at the same time, it is a person who is hypochondriac, but hypochondria did not appear in this context. It was her fear, her greater fear of her uh, being so forgetful. When people are hypochondriac, then of course their latent or more or less conscious hypochondriac fear becomes more virulent, more intensive under these circumstances. But hypochondria is not so much connected with in the fear of infection from outside. It is the fear of the, the physical health that the physical health is not strong enough, that they can get a cancer, that diabetes, that they can become sick and not be aware of it, and then the treatment starts too late, etc. All these hypochondric fears. The infection from the outside, for some hypochondric people, it may play a role, but in general, this is not so much. The, the, the insecurity and the risk in the population, in the culture, in the people, of course, raises a little bit the level of hypochondric fear, but is not that much influencing them. So, first, realistic fear, confronting the other fears which are there uh, by looking how is it related, and it may turn out that it is not a pathological fear, the remaining fear, but it is still a realistic fear. And if there is a pathological fear, then it needs the normal treatment of anxiety. Hypochondria itself is not so much triggered under these circumstances.